That was the quickest people quieted down without me saying a word that I've ever seen. Command presence, I love it. Well, first of all, thank you for being here as we deliver this progress report that began back in October of 2014. My thanks goes out to everybody who participated. I think all told there was somewhere between 50 and 60 people that volunteered to bring this document to fruition, and it really was a pleasure to work with all of you during the process, and it's going to give the city of Revere a great roadmap over the next 4 years with respect to things that we want to see get accomplished here in the city across several different disciplines. So I greatly appreciate your time and effort in putting this together. As some of you may know, and I see some of you that are here, worked on our first transition document back in 2012, and that has led to some really significant progress in many different areas, not the least of which has been RevStat, that has been of tremendous value to the city, and Plan Revere. As we know, we've worked with the Kennedy School and now doing our own Plan Revere with MAPC that will give the city a roadmap with respect to economic development for the next 20, 30 years. So I'm just going to go through, we have a slide presentation, as you can see, and just kind of go through it. With respect to the background on this, as I said, this progress report is intended to serve as a roadmap. It has drawn on leaders from this community and outside the community, from elected leaders to business owners to municipal officials to residents that have brought their experience to the city and allowed us to create this very, very significant document. And there were 7 committees that were assembled to address all of the various functions in city government. I've already made some acknowledgments, but as we move along, I just want to say that on behalf of my entire administration, those of you, again, that participated in this, I'm very, very grateful for, because without your support, we would not have been able to bring this document to fruition. I'm kind of going from a PowerPoint presentation here, which is where I'm reading from, but all of you, hopefully all of you, have access to the completed document, which is actually the nuts and bolts of everything that I'm going to summarize here this evening. This is going to be, this actually is really a roadmap that's going to spell out what this administration should be doing with respect to everything I'm going to talk about, and that, I believe, is online right now. So anybody that wants to go and view this report in its totality can go to revere.org and be able to find this document and actually look at it if there's any particular part that they have interest in. Very briefly, our table of contents that's in the report. We have an executive summary. We have common themes that will be contained within the document. And then committee reports, which will consist of city services and community revitalization, constituent services, economic development, education, elder services, public safety, and information technology. With regards to the executive summary, our goal here is something that I say all the time, and it's that we want to make Revere a great place to live, work, and raise a family. That has been the focus and our guiding principle of our administration since we took over back in January of 2012, and this just picks up from where we began. So the progress report contains suggestions for the administration about how city government, working closely with the members of our community, can continue to make Revere a better place. We have tried to make Revere a very inclusive place where everybody has a voice, everybody can participate. That is not only through some of the initiatives that we've launched over time, whether it be our Columbus Day Parade, the reinstitution of our Columbus Day Parade, Revere Shines, where hundreds of members across our community come out and help do our version of spring cleaning in the last Saturday in April. Now, with Plan Revere, we're going to our residents and asking them for their help and support on what their community should look like. So we continue to reach out to the public and try to let the public have a voice in what goes on in the city. Another major initiative that we just announced is the participatory budgeting process, where I am planning in the FY 2017 budget to take $100,000. We're setting up a steering committee that is going to propose up to 10 projects that the public will have a chance to vote on where we're going to spend that $100,000. So depending upon the value of these individual projects, you might get 2 or 3 different projects that will be done because of input from the public. So we're really doing all we can to engage the public and make this administration as transparent, obviously, but also as inclusive as we possibly can. We find a lot of value in bringing residents into city government because they take ownership of their city the same way we do. And these 7 chapters will divide the progress report's efforts under the topics that I talked about earlier. So, and I think as we start to go along in this presentation, you'll see that there's some really terrific ideas that we'll be able to draw upon over the next 4 years. Common themes, some of the common themes that we talked about. One of them had to do with the creation of a more development-focused community group in economic target areas. That was important in several different discussions. Expanding these community groups in the Shirley Ave area, Beachmont and Revere Street neighborhoods. That should be a continued focus of our administration. We've got some great groups across the city. We have the West Revere group. We've got the Beachmont Improvement Committee that are doing tremendous work. And again, we're looking to expand upon those groups and create others. We want to continue economic development and consider impacts on city services, particularly our school system. We're always conscientious when it comes to development and what that means to our ever-growing student-based population and what it does to our schools. We just saw with the implementation and the construction of the new Staff Sergeant James J. Hill School, the old McKinley School, how we agonized over finding land to put a school building. And we ultimately settled at Hill Park, which was a challenge. There were some people that wanted it, some people that didn't. At the end of the day, I think we all could agree. But the point is that whenever we undertake projects, we want to carefully take into consideration what that means, not just with respect to student population and what it means to our school system, but what it means to our roadways, what it means to our infrastructure, what it means to general quality of life of people, and how residents that live here already will be impacted, or if they will be impacted. So we always take that into consideration. And then again, we wanted to talk about our fixed assets. This includes public buildings, infrastructure, vehicles. That was another common thread that many of the committees talked about, and clearly, I think all of you know or may know that the city just undertook a capital improvement program that we did in conjunction with the UMass Collins Center, and we're very, very close to finalizing that, presenting it to the City Council, and actually creating a funding source for that so that at some point it becomes self-sustaining and kind of perpetuates itself over time, so we're not constantly working under a crisis management philosophy. We need a vehicle right now. You know, we need these repairs that maybe had we maintained the building, maybe we wouldn't need these repairs like we do. So there's this capital improvement plan, I think, plays into some of the common themes that the committee members had talked about, and we're excited about presenting that to the City Council. And that we should also prioritize the creation of a new senior center, or certainly significantly renovate what we have over there. We already, I think it's been formally announced that we received $150,000 from the legislature, thanks to the Speaker and Representative Vincent and Senator Petroselli. There was $150,000 in the budget to put a new roof on the senior center, and that's going to be a huge help to them over there. A lot of the problems that our senior center is having now is because of the roof, and knowing that we have $150,000, knowing that we have access to that, is going to make hundreds of seniors very, very happy. So my gratitude and thanks goes to the legislature for that, for their hard work and dedication in support of the City of Revere. Also, a new youth center, a public works facility, and additional renovations to other municipal buildings. These are things that I think for a long time have been neglected, not paid attention to. You know, you've heard me talk about a new youth center for a long time. We desperately need a new youth center for a city our size. We don't have a Boys and Girls Club. We don't have a YMCA. We don't have anything really. We have a lot in terms of parks and playgrounds, and the city has been very aggressive in pursuing grant opportunities and identifying funding to renovate parks and playgrounds, to build new parks and playgrounds. We got we just recently opened up the new Harry Delarusso Stadium, state-of-the-art facility that's going to serve not only children across the community, but it's going to serve adults as well. You know, 2 tennis courts, 2 basketball courts, regulation track. It's going to be lit, not now, but pretty soon. We're going to keep it open till 10 o'clock at night so that people can walk the track if they want to in a safe environment, well lit, and we're actually looking to potentially create a position for a stadium manager so that we have our several people that will kind of monitor the facility, because we want to maintain the asset. And I think the only way we can maintain the asset is if we have people there on site to make sure that people are not disrespecting the property. So we're looking at that right now and have a meeting scheduled in the not-too-distant future. But the point is, with respect to these common themes, these are things that I just mentioned that I think are important and transcend several of the committees that participated in this project. So the first one here is the City Services and Community Revitalization. That was led by our Director of Inspectional Services, Nick Catanazzo. And there were so many people involved that, as much as I'd like to, I'm not going to mention everybody by name. I'll mention the chairs. But, you know, they have been recognized in the report. It is online, and certainly people can go to the website, as I said before, look at this document, and they will see everybody who actually participated in this. I just want to give my general overall thank you and gratitude to all of our chairs and everybody that participated in this, because everybody did their share to make this possible. So, Nick, with respect to this, the City Services and Community Revitalization, I want to thank you and your team. There's a few things that I want to hit on here, and that's what I'm going to do with each one of these city services that are being discussed, is just talk about a few items in each that resonated with the committee, and that will be a focus for us as an administration. So the first one is an electronic history of constituent requests should be appropriately logged from the point of contact through completion. And I think that we're moving in that direction. You know, a lot of people, when they call City Hall, they request something, you know, we dish it off to the various departments that may handle that request. And we don't always know at the end of the day if that has been completed, because we send something off to Public Works, we send something off to Inspectional Services, we send something off to the Police Department. We just have, in many cases, blind faith that it's being addressed and it's being handled unless we get a second call back from the constituent that says, by the way, how come my problem isn't being addressed? So that is something that we definitely want to look at. We want to have a general log of constituent requests that we can track and then understand, yes, this has been addressed and it has been closed. So we don't leave those constituents, those residents, hanging, not knowing where it's at, and more importantly, for me as the mayor, to be able to track and say, are we actually accomplishing the things that residents are asking for? Now, some of the things, I think this might be a good opportunity for me just to say, we get a lot of requests, obviously, in a city of 55 or 57,000 people. Lots of different requests pertaining to lots of different things. A lot of them I send off, to the legislature. I see our friends from the legislature here. Representative Vincent's here, and Joan and Barbara from Speaker DeLeo's office are here, and Ricky, assistant to Representative Vincent. We send lots of stuff off to you, but we really don't have a system necessarily. We have great communication, and I think we talk with each other, but maybe based on these recommendations, at least on our end, we'll have something that we can say, okay, can we follow up with you and see maybe if this request through to MBTA or Mass DOT or whoever it might be, that it's been completed, and we can make sure that that particular request has been done. If Public Works is unable to repair potholes in a timely manner, then we may look at an outside contractor. And for the edification of those of you that are here, certainly for the chairman, Nick Catanazzo, who worked on this, we actually have an active request for proposal, RFP, out for services like that. We had a prior RFP out for these services, and we couldn't get anybody to bid. And I think the reason is that this year, potholes were so prevalent across so many different communities. It was similar to when we were fighting for equipment to move the snow. Now people are fighting for equipment to fill potholes. And, it was difficult. Our Public Works Department has been keeping up with it as much as they can, as much as they could, but we definitely need to get ourselves in a contract with an outside contractor that we can turn to and say, when we need help, we want to pick up the phone, call this outside contractor in so they can fill these potholes. It's a great recommendation, and it's something that we're already working on. So I think that's a tremendous recommendation. And then to conduct a comprehensive assessment of all municipal buildings and develop a master plan to maintain these fixed assets. Again, another great recommendation. And it's something that I found, and this, at the risk of sounding like I'm taking a swipe at prior administrations, that's not the case. It's just, financially, priority-wise, there hasn't always been a strong focus at maintaining any of our assets in the city. There just hasn't been. And, that became very clear when the city was placed under a consent decree by the DOJ and EPA and DEP. That just pertained to the water sewer system and stormwater system that we're now working on and trying to actually expand the terms of that agreement. But other things such as public buildings. We look at City Hall. I think City Hall is a beautiful building. It really is. But, that old saying, looks can be deceiving. You come inside, and there's a lot of problems in here. There's antiquated HVAC equipment. Not all HVAC equipment, but it certainly needs work. Plumbing and electrical, I'm sure probably close to original, maybe just with repairs as needed. There's things that need to be done in a building that's 100 years old. The tornado, when it hit, the roof had significant damage. We were allowed by DCAM to repair the roof, but we learned in repairing the roof that we need a brand-new roof. And that's going to be significant money. And, you know, not to say that we wouldn't have needed a roof 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago. We probably would have. But again, we would have been using those dollars at that time as opposed to 2015 dollars. So, you know, but again, these are things that we have to deal with. And again, it was a great recommendation by the committee. So my thanks to you, Nick Catanazzo. The next one had to do with constituent services, and we have been very focused on trying to deliver the best constituent services that we possibly can. That committee was led by David Krasnoff, a member of my staff in my office. So David, thank you for your work on this. I know that you spent a lot of time over the last few years working on this 40U program. We're still tweaking that, but that is going to make it better for residents, particularly when it comes to if they get a violation, they're not launched off into Chelsea District Court under a system where they don't know what's happening. They don't know, you know, if it's still active, an active violation. They don't know when they're going to get a fair hearing. That 40U program is helping out the city not only enforce our building and health code ordinances, but it's giving our residents a chance to come up with our own hearings officer here in Revere to talk about why they think that the ticket was maybe issued unjustly. But it speeds it along for them so they don't get in a situation where now there's additional you know, late fees and penalties and that type of thing tacked onto it. So we've already been working on that. But with respect to constituent services, it was recommended that the mayor schedule meet and greets on a monthly or bi-monthly basis to ensure that we have visibility, that the mayor is visible in the neighborhoods. I try to be as visible as I can. But I think it makes great sense for us to look at, even if it was every couple of months, to go to a different location and let residents come and talk with me directly. I think a lot of people would like that opportunity. I think some people can get a little nervous maybe about coming to City Hall. Maybe they don't have the time. They don't have, you know, but if we can bring it out to the neighborhoods, I think that makes perfect sense. We currently, as many of you may know, through our Parks and Rec department, we already are doing in the summertime neighborhood barbecues, which has been a tremendous success. Again, it's another way that the city is trying to engage people and get them out of their homes and with their neighbors and with their, you know, kids can get out there with their friends, parents can get out and interact with other parents. It creates a great opportunity for that inclusiveness that I think we're all looking for, and that community engagement that I know that we work very hard to create. So the next one has to do with online bill payment. Unfortunately, this is something that I think has got bogged down a little bit, and we are going to refocus ourselves and get fully committed to having online bill payment through our city's website. It's 2015, and I think it's time. And we are going to move forward in a very, very direct and vigilant manner to finally come up with a method for people to go online and pay their bills. Not just parking tickets and not, you know, we're talking about permitting, we're talking about excise tax, we're talking about anything possible that we can get people to pay online that's allowable by law. That's what we want to have happen here in the city of Revere. And we want to enhance our automated email responses to constituent reported issues. We need to do that by updating our city's email server to a cloud-based system. And we just, and I guess for the edification of the committee, this is actually great, by the way, because I feel like as the recommendations have come, just the first two topics that we've talked about, we're already taking action on some of these, which, you know, I think it's, you know, hopefully to the chairs, they'll be happy about that we haven't even formally brought this forward yet, and we're already working on these things. So, we are taking your recommendations very, very seriously. We just had a meeting last week with our IT department, and we talked about they're actually getting prices right now on what it's going to cost, prices and options of upgrading the city servers to a cloud-based system. That's where we should be going. These servers over time with the maintenance contracts and the life expectancy, I think financially it's not going to be any more to go to a cloud-based system, and it's going to allow the city to interact with residents much more effectively with the newer technologies. So, David, I want to thank you for that. The next discipline was economic development, and I don't have the chair here. Rather than go through the document, who was the chair of economic development? Was it John? John, I'm sorry, I should have known. My economic development director, John Festa. What a surprise. But well, John, thank you, for this. It seems this is just an extension of what's being done every day, I suppose, but it's definitely the future of the city. I talk all the time about investment in the city. I talk about development in the city, because that creates a vibrant city. If there's no construction, no growth going on, that doesn't bode well for any community. Mayor Walsh constantly talks about the $7.5 billion of development he has going on in the city of Boston. Mayor Walsh is calling on 53,000 units of housing over the next 5 to 10 years because it's needed. And we know that, and we work on these types of projects every single day, and John does a great job with that. The committee strongly recommends the continuation of marketing strategies to attract meaningful development. And we've done two now in our first term in office. We've done 2 economic development summits that have led to some tremendous conversations with high-end developers interested now in the city of Revere. We are also pursuing a mass cultural grant. We met with the chairman of the Cultural Council Subcommittee, right? Is that Representative Atkins? And she's Chair of Tourism, Arts, and Cultural Development. Okay. Thank you for that. Yes, and we met with the Mass Cultural Council also. Thank you, Representative Vincent, for that. It was in and then it was out. I don't know what happened. But we are applying for a grant, a $40,000 grant, that's going to help us market our new creative district, the overlay district that we're talking about at the south end of the beach, that will help promote what we're looking to do at the south end of the beach. We've got a beautiful beachfront. I say it all the time, and hopefully people, I wouldn't imagine there's many people in Revere that missed out on the Sand Sculpting Festival that we had this past weekend. It was absolutely tremendous. I see a couple of our members, few members here from the Revere Beach Partnership that made that happen, John Hamill and Rosette Cataldo, that worked incredibly hard to make it the success it was. They're saying over 1 million people down there, to see the sand sculptures, but to also see what else Revere has to offer. And these are people that I hope not only come down for those 3 days every summer, but they come down to see what Revere Beach has to offer frequently. And it should be a destination for people to come to. And so this Mass Cultural Grant will help us get the necessary funds to promote that district as a creative zone, as an overlay district that will draw artists, musicians, galleries, those types of uses that will take advantage of our beautiful ocean front that we have. So I think that's a tremendous recommendation, and so some of those things we're already working on. And that the community The Community Development Department should continue to explore zoning initiatives, just mentioned the Creative District, that will encourage investment in strategic locations with strategic uses. We also want to continue to benefit from our being designated as an economic target area. The City of Revere is very fortunate that we can offer tax increment financing. And tax breaks don't have to be a dirty word. It doesn't have to be a bad word. We're in a very competitive environment. People can invest their millions and millions of dollars anywhere they want. And Revere is one of 351 cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts where they can spend those dollars. So if we, as an economic target area, can entice businesses that make sense for the City of Revere to come to Revere and invest dollars in exchange for maybe a little break up front that maybe makes buying the land more palatable, or whatever it is that's gonna help push them over that hump. I know with Market Basket had some other options of places where they can go. And I know people in Revere were screaming for a Market Basket. A lot of them were shopping over in Chelsea, didn't want to have to go over there. And we, in my opinion, we needed options for people to do their grocery shopping. And so we sat down and negotiated with Market Basket, worked out a tax increment financing agreement that showed them that we were serious about wanting them here in the city, presented it to the City Council, which they approved. And now we're very fortunate to have the second busiest Market Basket in the entire chain of stores, I think 74, 75 stores. So it showed, obviously, that people in Revere really wanted a Market Basket. And, but again, it was through that use of tax increment financing that I believe we were able to finally close the deal with them and have them invest in Northgate, which is already paying dividends down at Northgate. There's other businesses that are looking to invest down there. It's been, 6 or 7 months since Market Basket opened. And so those conversations are ongoing, and I think we'll be seeing some new stores down there that are going to be of benefit to the residents of our city. So, and finally, streamlining the permitting process for major projects is a key for high-end development, but it's also a key for really any development. And that's where online permitting will come into play. I think if we allow for online permitting, people to go online, not have to, everything's about cutting red tape. It's not just here as a municipality. You hear that at every level, whether it's a state level, a federal level. You always hear people talking about cutting red tape, about streamlining, about making it more effective, more efficient. And so here in Revere, this is what we want to do. And this was a recommendation from the Subcommittee on Economic Development. So, John, thank you and your members for all that hard work and diligence. We're going to move on now to education. And first, let me just say how proud I am of our school system. Hunter, I see you sitting there. I know you're getting a great education over at the Whalen. And what grade are you in now? 6. So you're going to SBA, right? Rumney Marsh, okay. So another great school. So, but, we have a tremendous school system. The governor was here back in October, recognizing the city of Revere as having all level 1 and 2 schools. I don't know how anyone in the city of Revere couldn't be proud of that accomplishment as the only school in Massachusetts, the only school district in the urban school district in Massachusetts, 24 cities and towns, the only district to have all level 1 and 2 schools. I mean, that is tremendous. And, I've always said it, that schools and infrastructure will drive investment and economic development. And so, our schools are certainly doing their part. We have some of the best educators, best administrators that I have ever had the pleasure and honor to work with. So, and the kids are the beneficiaries of those. Think about this year, City of Revere, Revere High grads, our valedictorian and salutatorian both going to Princeton. So, anybody that thinks you can't get a good education in Revere has to talk maybe to those two students alone, and you'll get a different perspective on what type of an education you can get here in the city of Revere. I want to thank Megan Fidler-Carey. She's not here tonight, but she did a great job with her team. She is the Director of Partnerships and After-School Programs at Revere High School. And she does a tremendous job. She's not only does she work in her capacity with the school department, but she has partnered with the city on other projects, such as the Get Your Business Online, that allowed the city to win a $50,000 technology award a couple of years back. I mean, she really, she's helped us with the community school, just a tremendous asset to the city. And so just a few things out of her report that I'll touch on. Is to provide Revere Public School students the opportunity to truly learn anywhere, anytime in Revere by increasing access to technology hotspots, providing youth space for gathering and collaboration, and so we'll go back to the new youth center, which I would love to find funding for in some fashion, and continuing to support the innovative use of technology as a tool for learning. Also, approving infrastructure and capital investments to maximize teaching. So these are all great recommendations. They're things that obviously we think about, and things that hopefully we can continue to build upon through this report and through as much as our finances can allow for. Also, to improve workforce development and higher education opportunities for high school students through increased internships and extended learning opportunities. We recognize that not every student is going to want to go to a four-year college. So to help them move on into the workforce, we're actively pursuing options with our Chamber of Commerce. I see our Chamber of Commerce president. We have Kerry Abrams with us and Stephanie Scoper, our executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, that are working with Revere and working with Revere Public Schools to help foster these partnerships. We've reached out to places like Harley-Davidson, Market Basket. It's funny, you walk through Market Basket as an example, and how many people have a badge on that says, I've been here 30 years, I've been here 25 years, I've been here. Great company to work for. I mean, so a lot of these companies that are here, and I know I'm only touching on a couple, but there are hundreds of businesses in the city of Revere that will offer these partnership opportunities. We've got law firms that are allowing for interns, for kids to come in and work and learn, and some of them have actually gone on to pursue an education to become lawyers. So through their internships with these law firms. So there is an awful lot that we can do as a community to help kids with these internships that can either help them further their education or create skills that they can bring if they don't have an interest in attending college, that they can bring immediately right out of school into the workforce to help them along. And also increase out-of-school time opportunities for all Revere students, regardless of ages, abilities, needs, etc. So, we have Youth Zone as an example. Youth Zone was created for at-risk kids that, need a little bit more direction, a little bit more guidance, and they have created such a tremendous program for Youth Zone that, they are a model. Actually, they helped us with the Get Your Business Online program, and it was so great to see these kids participate with adults, participate with the city, and the way they carried themselves, you'd never think that there was anything that Youth Zone would have to be created for, but nonetheless, it's a great option for kids and to help them along in their after-school partnerships and programs. So I want to thank Megan and her team for that. Some really great recommendations. We're going to move on now to Elder Affairs. That was co-chaired by Steve Fielding and Priscilla Nickerson. I want to thank them for their diligence. They were very aggressive, and if I had to take every dollar that we're going to put into all of these topics, they would want them all in the senior services. So I give them a lot of credit for that. They came up with a lot. Listen, they fight and fight and fight. So you know, they do a tremendous job. And Steve, I just got to tell you, you know, you have been a tremendous appointment over there at Elder Services. You've breathed new life into that building, and the way that you're handling the programming over there and growing the elder population that visits that facility is just incredible. So you're doing a tremendous job. And really, through their hard work and through their diligence at banging on us, and us in turn passing that along to our legislative body, they did get $150,000 to fix that roof. And that plays into their first bullet point, which is to construct a new senior center that meets the increasing needs of the senior population in Revere. And we would absolutely love to build a new senior center, but I have to think that at least for now, that new roof will go a long way in providing a safer, more conducive space for these seniors to come and visit and not worry about, you know, the lousy conditions that they've had to deal with in that building for a long time. They also talked about providing seniors with a selection of services relating to information, referrals, medical and healthcare opportunities. And so the administration plans on working with Elder Affairs in doing all we can to make sure that we are providing those type of opportunities, you know, with respect to information and medical and other healthcare needs. And they also wanted us to strengthen programs, services, and activities in the area of health, nutrition, exercise, education, lifestyle management, and entertainment. And so these are all programs that I know that our Elder Affairs Department is already working on, but if we can help them strengthen those programs, expand upon those programs, then our seniors are going to be much better off. I think the job that Steve Fielding, as the Director of Elder Affairs, is doing, will be that much more gratifying and that much easier for him, because we'll be giving him the tools he needs to make sure that our seniors are getting everything that they need and everything that they want, and we're going to continue to work with you on that. So great job to you and the committee, to both Steve and Priscilla. We're now going to move on to Fire Public Safety. Chief Gene Doherty, who is also our Emergency Management Director. Chief, I want to thank you very much, first of all, for being here tonight. I want to thank you for the work you do as my Emergency Management Director. We just had the rededication, not the rededication, the dedication, or the commemoration of the tornado a couple of days ago, and me and a long line of other speakers who spoke that day all commended your efforts during the tornado and helping us get through that, and we're very grateful as a community to you for what you've been able to do during your tenure as chief. It's really been remarkable, and that if there was ever an event that would have validated that statement, it would have been that tornado. You did a tremendous job. So, Fire Public Safety, we want to continue to seek grants and city support to update apparatus and technologies. This, I think, actually plays into our capital improvement plan, which I know the chief was involved in. We need to make sure that we're replacing apparatus and working on our technologies before it turns into crisis. And so we try to do that, and I think we do a decent job, but are we 100% there? I don't think we are. So we will work with the chief and the department on that. The department has a long history, thankfully, in working with UASI in order to receive grants. UASI is a regional homeland security group where grant money can come out of to help with the different needs with respect to public safety throughout, I believe, is it Suffolk County or is it the entire state? Nine communities, Boston and I guess 8 other communities and surrounding communities. And Boston is the kingpin in all this. They control the funding, but fortunately the city of Revere has been very aggressive, again, led by Fire Chief Doherty, in getting our share of UASI money that's helped us do an awful lot of things here in the city, too many to list, and things that people might see, new pieces of equipment, maybe it might be new cameras, it could be, you know, a lot of things that really aren't that tangible or noticeable all the time by the public, but it's money that's needed by the city to you know, to absolutely become a safer city for all of our residents and give the tools to our public safety officials that they need to do their jobs more effectively. At the end of the day, if they can do their jobs better and more efficiently and more effectively, it's going to benefit us as a community. So that's obviously something we want to continue to work on, working with them on grants and access to this UASI money. And then they want to continue with in helping with the very difficult problem of opiate abuse and overdose that we've experienced here in our community. You know, it's not a Revere problem, it's not a Massachusetts problem, it's a national problem. And we're all trying to do what we can to help with respect to prevention, education, treatment, but you know, it's a tough problem. On the bright side of things, Revere has led the way, really, in all of those areas to try to combat this problem. We were the first, Revere Fire Department, the first in the nation to administer Narcan, which reverses heroin or opiate overdose. First in the country. Now that's great that we have this ability to use Narcan and reverse opiate overdose, but anecdotally, just one weekend, 4th of July weekend, they had to use Narcan 11 times. So if you think about that, had they not used the Narcan, we could have lost 11 lives just in that one weekend. So it's a real major problem that we're trying to get our head around. But the Revere Fire Department has taken it a step further. You know, they have, in addition to seeking, and this is again in their report, seeking additional funding to provide these services, they've taken it a step further where after they reverse somebody with the use of Narcan, they're actually physically going out to the home and giving the recipients of the Narcan and their families information on how they can maybe get into a program, or what help that you know, give them access to help to maybe help, you know, treat the addiction. So they are light years ahead of a lot of other areas, but hopefully they'll serve as a catalyst for other areas. Chief. Wow. So, yeah, that's tremendous. So, it's the drug czar, Mr. Botticelli, his office from Washington, D.C., the National Office of Drug Control Policy. This is, again, for the edification of those that might be watching. The National Office of Drug Control Policy called us today to ask permission to use the city's website and what the Revere Fire Department is using as a national model for what's being done to combat opiate overdose. That is a tremendous honor, Chief, and really, it's just incredible. Yeah, great job, great job. And so, you know, when you think about, the challenges that, the fire department has, it's not just jumping in a fire engine and putting out fires. I mean, there's a lot of other things. I mean, you think of the car accidents that we have here in the city, and think about these medical aid calls that they have to go out on, and, sadly, have to respond to the amount of opiate overdose calls that they get, but they're not just sitting on their hands saying, well, there's nothing we can do, let's just see what protocol calls for. They're actually making policy. They're not following policy. They're creating policy, which is tremendous. Another report that came out of the fire chief's office was with respect to harbor master public safety. The harbor master should report under the police and/or fire chief to provide a more professional and responsive service to the community. And funding maybe should be sought through port security grants. Again, this city gets an awful lot of grant money. I don't think we talk about it or let the public know as much as we should. But a lot of the things we're able to do, for example, all this work we did on Broadway was done with Mass Works grant money and community development block grant money. So, these grants can make a real difference. And in this case, the chief is talking about grants through port security. So, I absolutely think, we're an oceanfront community. We've got 2 different yacht clubs here and lots of boaters. And so, I don't think as an administration, and I'll say this for myself, I don't think I spend enough time as mayor of the city working with our harbor master and assistant harbor masters. So that absolutely, I think, is good public policy, and we'll definitely be looking into that. And again, the city's ordinances must be modified and updated for today's needs and responsibilities of what harbor masters should be called upon for. So, Chief, thank you for that. And finally, again, out of Chief Doherty's office, with respect to civil defense public safety, he's requesting that my office, the mayor, issue an executive order changing the civil defense as it's currently defined to the mayor's office of emergency management, and specifically spell out the duties and responsibilities as well as the titles and duties of those that are appointed. And this department should be in direct line or in the chain of command to the mayor's office, as it is done currently in the city of Boston. So I think that is something that we will absolutely pursue, and hopefully, Chief, I can work on that with you. And I'd like to also acknowledge Representative Vincent as co-chair on the Public Safety Subcommittee. I want to really thank you for that. And some great recommendations, Chief. And the final committee that we'll talk about was our Technology and Communications Committee, led by John Hamill, who, as I said earlier, has been instrumental for the last several years in helping us put together our Sand Sculpting Festival. This year, 1 million people are estimated to have attended. I know on Saturday alone, they said about 500,000, which is just incredible. And so somewhere in between his input and direction with respect to the Sand Sculpting Festival, he found time to put together a report for the city with respect to technology and communication. So much appreciated, John, to you and your committee for what you've done. And recommendations include, they recommend that we continue to improve the city website's functionality, manage its content, and improve payment capabilities, and all of which I couldn't agree more with. I spend some time, not a lot of time, but I spend some time perusing the internet, checking out other municipalities and what they have. And as much as I think we have been able to upgrade our website during our first few years, I don't think we're near where we should be. And so that's absolutely something that we will take, to heart, and we'll continue to work on. They talked about moving towards a cloud-based system for our IT infrastructure, and absolutely, we touched on that a little bit earlier, and that is something that you know, we have to think, we have to be forward-thinking. Again, we don't want to find ourselves in a crisis situation where we have servers where we're told, well, there's no parts for that anymore, or you need to upgrade to another system that's going to be that much more costly, that if we're proactive looking at a cloud-based system that is available today. So, great recommendation. And finally, to increase participation in the RevStat program across all municipal departments, and to create a dashboard of report cards on specific city services on our website, which, again, I think plays into, we hear it all the time about transparency and communication, and we try to communicate with the public as much as we can. I know some people, we talked about it earlier, about these code red reverse 911 phone calls, and I'm a big believer in the code red. I know a lot of people don't like to get all these phone calls. We had a very tough winter, so I know people got lots of phone calls this past winter, but we want to give people the information. And, you know, you can sign on to Code Red, I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you don't have to get a phone call. You can get an email or a text message, I believe. So if you don't want to get that phone call, you can sign up to get a text message on your phone or an email. So you don't have to get the phone call that, you know, gets you up from doing what you're doing to get the phone. So if you're interested in getting updates from the city, it could be in emergency situations, it could be just for informational purposes, make sure you sign up for our Code Red program. It's your source to instant information or information on upcoming events or things that are happening in the city that will have an impact on you. So I would encourage you to get signed up to Code Red. You can go to our website, revere.org, and get signed up. Or if you don't, if you just want to call, you can certainly call City Hall, and we will put your information in the database that allows you to get these updates. But that being said, with respect to this recommendation and RevStat putting it, taking on, I believe we're pulling in inspectional services now, and department by department, we're actually working on this performance-based management program that you've heard us talk about a lot. We call it RevStat. It started off as CityStat. It was created in Baltimore, Maryland, under then Governor Martin O'Malley. And I think he was the mayor of Baltimore, actually. I'm sorry, he was the mayor of Baltimore. So he started that as mayor, went on to be governor, but it's simply a performance management tool that, I find it, quite honestly, a chance to meet monthly with department heads and in departments, with the department heads, that gives us a chance to talk for an hour or so about what's going on and how we can improve upon the services that they deliver, because this is a service organization, and every one of our departments provides some sort of a service. And so and what they're suggesting is that not only do we have these monthly meetings, but that we post information about these meetings in a report card type fashion. So we release various reports throughout the year. We just released a pothole repair report that talks about how many potholes we've been that we've been able to repair, as opposed to how many potholes were reported, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a tremendous recommendation that we look at how we're doing, and then we make it in the form of a public document that people can go online and check out. So that's definitely a recommendation that we will take very seriously and try to move forward with. So, I know I've talked about an awful lot of things here tonight. I've spent almost an hour talking now, and I know it's a hot summer night, and you probably want to be other places than City Hall. But everybody in this room worked so hard to get us to this point. We thought, as an administration, it was very important to have this opportunity to present it to you, to talk about the document as a whole, because a lot of you were so entrenched working on your own respective areas that you may not have known what was going on in some of those other areas. So I'm really, really glad that we had this opportunity. I'd like to once again just close by thanking the many of you that participated, and I'm sorry if I if I haven't mentioned everybody by name, but I just want to mention our chairs again. Nick Catanazzo, David Krasnoff, John Festa, Megan Fidler-Carey, Steve Fielding, Priscilla Nickerson, Chief Gene Doherty, our State Representative Rosalie Vincent, and John Hamill, and to all their committee members that helped make this document possible. It was absolutely a pleasure working with all of you. I hope you all know how important this is to our administration, and that this is not going to be a document that we're just going to put, in a folder somewhere and leave hanging. This is something that we're going to meet on every single month and look at every single area and say, where are we with respect to this initiative, that initiative? These are things we're actually going to use as a document to lead our administration into the future, and you should know that your input is valued more than I can express to you here today. So I want to thank all of you. To view the full report, you can go to www.revere.org/mayors-office, and you will be able to see the report in its entirety. You can also, for anybody that's inclined, can certainly come to City Hall and get a copy of the report. Again, this has been a tremendous exercise for me and members of my administration that helps us as a community. You know, it's not just me sitting in my office talking with one or two people trying to figure out what the best thing is for the city. To be able to tap into resources like all of you that are sitting here with us tonight, and others that couldn't make it but participated in this, that's what's going to make and continue to make the city of Revere a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And these are things that we focus on every single day, and we do it as a team and as a true partnership. So on behalf of my entire administration, I want to thank all of you for being here and for your participation in preparing this very, very important roadmap. Thank you all for being here.